In October, my first month of the trip not going well curse was thrown out of the window. As you can see by the Rodney Kontorsky sign on screen right now, I was trying to catch NS 1073, the Penn Central Heritage Unit, on this day. See, I've had this sign in my room for like years at this point, and thought it would be funny to get a shot of it passing by the Penn Central Heritage Unit. The railroad history was very prevalent on this day, because before the PC unit arrived, an eastbound Norfolk Southern intermodal passed by, with a nice little surprise trailing third. This was my second time seeing 8098, so I wasn't super excited, but it was definitely cool. Unfortunately, this train blocked my shot of a CPKC Autorack train, so that sucked. The power was a CP and KCS GEVO, so it wasn't too rare, but I was still mad. Next up was an extremely short Norfolk Southern intermodal with an SD70 ACC leading and AC44 trailing second. You can see Southwest Michigan Railfanning down there, as he had joined me to catch the Penn Central unit. And the next train was the one we had been waiting for. Norfolk Southern 27G with NS 1073, the Penn Central Heritage Unit, leading. Look, I love Penn Central. Even though they were a financial failure, I find them so fascinating. So this was definitely number one on my list of Norfolk Southern Heritage Units to catch. Trailing behind it was, of course, the obligatory AC44 C6M. Since the leaves had just started to fall down, there was many on the ground. The DPUs sucked them into the train as they passed by. Of course, the DPUs were C6Ms. After that, we got word that a -9 was trailing on the next train, which is going to be here in only a few minutes. Leading was a fresh GEVO. The -9 trailing is 9749. Norfolk Southern's C6M rebuild program is reaching its tail end, and -9s are getting rarer and rarer, so this was nice to see. The rolling stock on this train was also crazy, with a Southern Pacific Hydra Cushion boxcar and a Southern Railway painted grain hopper. On October 15th, my dad was riding the South Shore to work like usual, and managed to catch Norfolk Southern 6703, one of Hegwish Yard's resident GP33 Ecos. I really like these units, so I'm glad I got photos of it. Now, it was October 18th, and I'm back at the depot. There wasn't anything specific I wanted to catch on this day, I just felt like railfanning. The first train was a Norfolk Southern Manifest with a C6M leading and GEVO trailing. Weirdly fresh GEVO, though. I feel like I've been seeing a lot of those recently. Next up was a CP KC auto rack with CP AC44 rebuild leading and KCS Gevo in second. Then the final train, or so we thought. Norfolk Southern Manifest with Gevo leading and C6M trailing. I say, or so we thought, because right before the tail end of that manifest cleared, we got jump scared by Norfolk Southern B08, the local, with two glorious GP60s. Now it's October 27th, and we're at Wellsboro. And I bet you're wondering, why is the camera so low to the ground? This is why. I brought my drone on this trip. Yeah, I own a drone. I barely use it. Anyways, I brought my drone in on this trip so I could get an overhead shot of the train. This is the first time I was testing out taking a drone video of a moving actual train and not just something that was stopped. It turned out fine, I guess, but it's not the greatest. It's definitely decent enough to take video of moving trains, but I'd rather just get a shot of the train from the ground, which, as you'll see in a bit, I took a shot of the train from the ground just as a backup in case the shot didn't go well. As you can see, it looks better. Anyways, the train was a CSX Manifest with two Gevos, so nothing to write home about. Then we were surprised by the CPKC Transfer Intermodal with two Southern Bells, a Gevo in the lead and a Thundercab Ace as the DPU. Nice. The next train was not rare, but really funny. It was an AC44 and Gevo, but the AC44 was in YN3C. Why would you do this, CSX? However, while we were there, we met up with another Railfan who told us that there was a Chesapeake and Indiana power parked down by the grain elevator on this day. We had never seen CNI before, so we had to go ahead and get it. First, there was the Chesapeake and Indiana's only blue SD40-2, and then this XDM and IR SD18. I was very excited to see this. I honestly think it's retired, though, since it's been sitting here for God knows how long. On October 28th, my dad was driving and happened to cross a South Shore local. Leading was a long hood forward South Shore Veterans Unit, number 2003, and trailing was the FURX Leaser 4226. On November 2nd, I became the luckiest rail fan alive. On our way back home from the movies, we saw CN Manifest coming with a BC Tricolor -9 trailing second. And then this other boring CN Intermodal came by. We thought it was going to block it, but luck point number 1, it was on the far track. Luck point number 2 was us being there in this specific time. Anyways, we pulled up to the crossing, and I held my camera out the window waiting for the BC Tricolor -9 to come through. That was until my mom realized that it was quite a bit farther away than we expected, and there was a little parking lot next to the crossing. So she decided to pull off of the main road and get out onto the parking lot so that I could get out and then get a better shot of the BC Tricolor. After she did that, I ran up to the crossing at Mach 25, held out my camera, and just in time beat the train to the crossing. There was an SD75M leading and the glorious BCOL 4642 trailing second. I've actually seen this loco before, but it wasn't moving, so this was my redemption. Given that we were already in the area and it was getting dark, I decided to go down to the grain elevator again and get some better shots of 813, now that it wouldn't be super mega backlit thanks to the morning sunlight. And the 6386 SD40 was also here, but parked in a different spot. Then, the very next day, on November 3rd, the unthinkable happened. Norfolk Southern 265, a intermodal, long distance that I could actually track, had an executive Mac trailing second. You have no idea how excited I was. Executive Macs aren't super rare, and they generally aren't even considered remarkable at all, but I had missed, I'm not even joking, 25 executive Macs. After horribly missing that one on March 4th, 2023, I needed my redemption. And this was going to be it. I just hoped that nothing was going to come in and ruin it like it did last time. However, we did have to wait for quite a few trains to come by, first being this Norfolk Southern Intermodal with a GEVO leading and -9 trailing, which was nice. It then proceeded to meet another Norfolk Southern Intermodal with a GEVO leading and fresh AC44 C6M rebuild trailing second. Once again, Southwest Michigan Railfan arrived to catch the Executive Mac as the next train drew near, a Norfolk Southern Intermodal with a pair of C6Ms. Next up was a Union Pacific Manifest. This is one of the transfers that stops in Elkhart, with GEVO leading, Ace trailing, and GEVO in third, elephant style. Nice to see another Union Pacific Ace. And the next train was finally it. Norfolk Southern 265 with BNSF GEVO leading and executive painted SD70 Mac trailing second, number 9780, one of the merger Macs. This was so nice. Now all I need is an executive Mac leading, like that'll ever happen. We're back to Wellsboro on November 10th, and for the first time we have parked CSX power, ready to transfer with the CNI. CSX YN2AC44 number 211. Gotta love this paint scheme. I don't think anybody actually dislikes it. And of course behind it was the mandatory CSX GEVO. This trip had an unusually high amount of Canadian national presence, starting with a manifest with fresh C6M leading and a GEVO trailing. Gotta love the horn on those C6Ms. Next train was CSX, a grainer with 2 GEVOs. Oh boy. The increased amount of CN activity yielded us another C6M leader with a GEVO trailing and a nice X-City rail as the DPU. And finally, a CSX intermodal with 3 GEVOs. And on our way back, we were surprised by a perfect meet at the depot crossing. A BNSF intermodal with H3-9 and GEVO was met by a Norfolk Southern one with a C6M and GEVO. On November 18th, Norfolk Southern 23G had NS 8100, the nickel plate road heritage unit leading, with 2 C6Ms behind it. However, it came after dark, and at the depot there aren't really many spots. The crossing spot's fine, but the crossing gate gets in the way. So we decided to move down to the Northwest Health Hospital, where right on the edge of the hospital parking lot there's a little patch of grass where you can stand to shoot trains from, and the streetlights from the hospital perfectly illuminate the trains at night. It was only a few minutes before 8100 arrived. As you probably just were, we were shocked by the random eastbound intermodal that almost very so nearly blocked the nickel plate. I'm so glad it came just a second later. Last up was an ace GEVO, and in trailing third was a nice white-faced -9. Now it's November 24th, and hey, we're in a new spot. This is Walkerton, and there's a CSX crossing here. We were out to catch 1973, the chassis system heritage unit. There was quite a lot of other rail fans also here waiting for it. However, right before it arrived, a CSX local pulled in. The local stopped to wait for the incredibly high priority westbound intermodal with the chassis system. And literally as soon as that local stopped, headlights appeared around the curve in the distance, and 1973, along with GEVO and AC-44 C6M, rounded the bend and came right in front of our faces, pounding over the diamond. As soon as the chassis cleared, the local started moving again. This was awesome, with 2 unrebuilt GP40-2s, and funnily enough, the trailing one was an ex-chassis system unit. Chassis' ghost must have been very active on this day. Hello everyone, it's currently 1:04 a.m. and I bet you're wondering why we're out. Well, who am I kidding? I'm not fooling anyone. It's the CPKC Christmas train. It's currently November 26th, 2024, and well, we're heading to the depot. See you there. Once we arrived at the depot, we moved down to what I like to call the Southwest Michigan Railfanning end of the depot, as he shoots all of his trains from here. Anyways, we went out way too early. The Christmas train wasn't supposed to come until 4, and we went out at 1. The idea was that we were going to talk to our Railfan friends, but none of them showed up until way later, because they were smart. It was also freaking freezing! Anyways, the first train was a BNSF manifest with 2 Gevos and like 12 cars on it. There was an intermodal stopped in Elkhart for a crew change, holding up all of the westbound traffic, so all the next couple trains were eastbound. I rushed back over to this side of the depot, because it had better lighting, for the next train. And it was 2 C6Ms. All that effort for nothing. The next train was a Norfolk Southern manifest with 4 in power, a CP AC-44 leading and BNSF Gevo trailing second. If you look at the crossing over there, you can see the cop car get stopped by the train. Yeah, the cops were called for crowd control for the Christmas train. Yeah, this is going to be a big event. Next, my good friend Liam, aka Conrail 8418 Productions, arrived just in time for the first westbound, a Norfolk Southern manifest with C6M leading and ACE as the DPU. Next was the intermodal that had been holding up traffic in Elkhart, with C6M leading, a second, and Gevo in third. Oh my god, I've been waiting for this eastbound for 30 minutes out here. And of course the signal turns yellow. Oh my God. That eastbound turned out to be a Union Pacific transfer with Union Pacific Ace leading, AC-44 in second, and Thundercab Ace in third. As you can see, I shot this shot super epically through the fire we made to roast hot dogs. Then the cop said, "Hey bro, put out your fire." So we did. Now it was 4 a.m., and the Christmas train was supposed to have passed already. It hadn't. The freight traffic still didn't stop, and I dragged my butt out into the freezing weather for this next Norfolk Southern manifest with GEVO leading and Dash 9 trailing. Nice Dash 9, but And only now, a full hour late, the Christmas train passed by the Elkhart cam. We were in for more freezing. However, right before the Christmas train came through Elkhart, Norfolk Southern 17N, a manifest, also came through, and 45 minutes later, a train showed up at the depot. We thought, this has to be 17N. And it was some random Elkhart originating manifest with a Southern Belle GEVO leading. If this ain't 17N, I am going to scream potato at the top of my lungs and never recover. As you can tell, I was frankly losing it, but thankfully for me and everyone else who was in earshot, it was actually 17N, with GEVO leading and Dash 9 trailing. So many Dash 9s on this trip. Nice to see them again. We got a high green coming for westbound, which has got to be the holiday train. There's nothing else it could be. It's 5:30. The holiday train's a full hour late, and I'm in immense pain. We've got headlights. Nobody believes it. This is where the Polar Express would come in. Do you truly believe that this is the holiday train? Then this happened. A BNSF manifest with Ace leading and GEVO trailing came in and blocked our view of the far track. Everyone standing on this side of the depot started panicking, as they were worried that this manifest would completely block our view of the holiday train, as this westbound literally had to be the holiday train. There was nothing else it could be. There was nothing else that had come through Elkhart. Thankfully for everyone involved, the end of the BNSF manifest cleared mere minutes before the train finally arrived. This is it, boys. We're finally free from this eternal suffering. After 4 horrible, exhausting, tiring, painful, freezing hours of waiting, CPKC 02H finally came by, with GP20C Eco 2246 in the lead and fully decked out with holiday lights, including CPKC's OCS fleet. This was so nice. I panned on the CP logo because I was worried that next year the CP KC locomotive paint scheme would be prevalent on the front of this train. Only time will tell if that will actually happen. Okay, there's no visuals, but this is a post-trip status report. My hands are numb. I have pre-frostbite in my hands. I have to pee, and that's it. Okay. I'm in immense pain. Let's get out of here. Well, I think that's about as much of a trip conclusion as we're going to get. Yeah, that trip absolutely sucked, and I'm probably never going to do that again. And if I am, I'm going to come out, when the train actually comes through, If I'm going to be honest, next year I plan to just drive to the Chicago/Franklin Park event and catch the Christmas train there. Anyways, make sure to come back for another vlog just like this one. And remember, catch 'em while you can.